Hello, this is Keyvan Shahrdar. I am adjunct professor of computer science at LSU Shreveport. This is class CSC120, Introduction into Programming. We are going to go over chapter 1, Techniques for Solving Problems. After we finish this slide, we will go over our first homework assignment as well. Techniques for Solving Problems. First, you have three objectives that you want. One is steps in solving a problem, two is motivating example, and three, programming skills. Steps in solving a problem. First, you want to identify your input. Input is the essential information that a program needs to solve the problem. Identify the goal or objective. The goal is where you define your end result. This is a description of what you know your problem has been solved and your objective has been met. And three, create a list of tasks to achieve your objective. These are the steps required to reach your goal. So let's talk about a motivating example. So Juanita is planning a trip to visit the Grand Canyon. She lives in Seattle, Washington, and is concerned about the cost of gas for the trip. Using online mapping software, she calculates that it is 1,224 miles to the Grand Canyon. Juanita knows her car gets 18 miles per gallon, or MPG, on the highway. She estimates that the average cost of gas is $4.20 per gallon, or CPG. Use the equation below to calculate how much a trip to the Grand Canyon will cost her. So you're able to, from the information that we read, we are able to determine that the cost is going to equal the distance divided by the miles per gallon times the cost per gallon. So problem solving step 1, identify your inputs. Well, what are your inputs? And when we're talking about what are your inputs, is you're always asking questions. So when you're creating a program, the program is going to ask questions of the person in front of the computer. So you're asking the person, what's the distance? What's the miles per gallon? And what's the cost per gallon? So as you can see, there are three inputs that we have identified. Problem solving step number 2 is state your goal. So we have the three inputs, as you can see, distance, miles per gallon, and cost per gallon. What's our goal? We want to know what the cost is. And the problem solving step 3 is list the tasks needed to reach the goal. So we need to plug in the inputs into the cost equation and return the cost. So everybody knows what the cost is in order to do their trip. So you execute the tasks to reach the goal. First, you plug in the inputs into the cost equation. Cost is equal to distance divided by miles per gallon times cost per gallon. So your cost is equal to 1,224 divided by 18 times $4.20. And this returns the cost, which is cost equals $285.60. Remember, when it comes to math equations, you have to follow the order of operations for math. So in the order of operations, in this case, is multiplicative, which is both division and multiplication, and it's from left to right. So 1224 divided by 18 times $4.20. So the question is, what is the second step in solving a problem? The goal step states the end result that is accomplished via your tasks. What is its purpose? Here are some of the terms a person needs to know in a programming environment. A programmer is a person who creates programs that solve a problem using the computer. And that's your job during this course. You are going to be the programmer. And you are going to create a program or a sequence of steps that a computer understands and executes. Your programming language is a notation used to write instructions into a computer. In our case, we are going to be using Python. That's our programming language. And it has its own notation. Computer, a computational logical device that can read or accept data, store and process the data, and output and or store the results. What's an algorithm? An algorithm is a set of instructions designed to complete a task. So we used an algorithm here, which was cost equals distance divided by MPG times CPG. A bug is an error in a program, and debugging is the process of removing errors, testing, and revising a program to make sure that it performs as expected. In conclusion, we encounter problems every day, many of them too complex to solve without help. By defining problems for a computer using the problem-solving components of inputs, goals, and tasks, we can start the process of programming a computer to assist us in finding solutions. So why don't you go and test your knowledge? There are 10 exercises at the end of the chapter to apply the skills you learn. The book is in Moodle. It's named CSC120 book. To show that you understand the material presented in this chapter, complete the chapter 1 quiz at http://psfpp.goadrich.com. This is great for you to learn extra. So let's go into Moodle now, and so this is CSC 120. So here, as you can see, you have your book right here, and then this is your Visual Logic and Python Help PowerPoint. So if you haven't done that yet, you should go ahead and do it, and you should do the test assignment as well and get that uploaded. Remember, you get extra points for submitting your information into the profile and sending me a link. Also, Office is free of charge for any LSU Shreveport student. So please make sure you go to portal.office.com and download it into your laptop and desktop. So homework number 1, which is due September 6th at midnight. So you do problems 1 and 3 at the end of chapter 1, page 4 and 5. Submit visual logic flowcharts, Python programs, and all input and outputs, 2 runs each. Okay, so the 2 runs each. So here we have run number 1, and here we have run number 2. So one of the main things you have to remember is you need to read and understand what is being asked of you. So you have to do problems 1 and 3 at the end of chapter 1, which is pages 4 and 5, and submit visual logic flowcharts. So what's a visual logic flowchart? So if you read the CSC Visual Logic and Python Help PowerPoint, you would know what a visual logic flowchart is. So basically what you do is you go to visuallogic.org, and here it is, and then you download Visual Logic. So it's downloading, and then you open, and this is what will appear. Okay, now it's most likely it's going to go into your downloads folder, but what you could do is you copy it and put it on your desktop, so that way it's easy for you to get access to it. So here is your Visual Logic right here. So let's exit and let's start with this one right here. So here it says Visual Logic. You're going to hit continue. Now, we're not buying this. All you have to do is, I do not have a vsig file in demo mode. That's all we need for you to do right at this moment. So you do that, and you will be in demo mode. And that's okay. We want to be in demo mode. So here is the demo mode. And this is how it's going to look. So let's look at your homework assignment, right? So first, we got to do problems 1 and 3, do problems 1 and 3 at the end of chapter 1. So let's look at the book. So here's your book. So you download the book, you save it into your laptop or into your desktop. You open the book. And your book will open in Microsoft Word. So here is your book. Okay. So chapter 1 is techniques for solving problems. So I showed you the PowerPoint presentation for this, but please go through the book and read things. This is how you're going to learn most uh, in this class. So here we go through chapter 1. It gives you all the problems, all the questions, etc. It tells we went through this in the PowerPoint slide. Programmer, programming language, etc. So make sure you learn those things and learn these key terms. This is what's important. You are going to get quizzed on this. So we have to do in Moodle. It says we have to do problems 1 and 3. So this is problem 1, right? And then we have problem number 3 over here. So I'll get you started with problem number 1, and then you could go further with problem number 1 and do everything that is asked of you. So here it says, in Reno, Nevada, in a desert city supporting a population of over 180,000 people, the large population and desert location makes water a treasured resource. Many citizens of Reno do not own their own swimming pool because water is so dear. Instead, they visit the public swimming pools. If the city charges 1.2 cents per cubic feet of water, calculate the cost that the city pays for water needed to fill a typical swimming pool. If the pool is 20 feet wide, 30 feet long, and 10 feet deep, use the following equation. So these are your algorithms. So it's giving you the algorithm already. And you're going to say volume in cubic feet equals length times width times height. And the cost is equals to cost per cubic feet, which is right here, cost per cubic feet. You see that? Times the volume. And that's what you create here if you do length times width times height. So your computer program that you're going to create, you're going to ask, what's the length, the width, and the height? One thing with Python and Visual Logic is you have reserved words, and this, length is a reserved word. So you have to use terms such as length of pool, width of pool, and height of pool. So let's go ahead and get started. So here, right? So we are going to enter inputs, right? So you get here next to begin, you do a right mouse click, and you want an input. And your input here, you're going to say more. You want it to be in the console. Your variable is going to be, first question you're going to ask is the length of pool. And you're going to ask, so when you write text, you have to put them in parentheses. You're going to ask, what is the length of the pool? Question mark, space. Right? So we have an input, which is length of pool. Let's go ahead and add another input. More, remember console. And we're going to ask width of pool. And we're going to ask, what is the width of the pool? Question mark, space. That way you leave a space in between here. And then the third question we're going to ask is console height of pool. You're going to use the quotation marks, and you're going to ask, what is the height of the pool, question mark, space. One of the things you have to look at is at Moodle. So you see 1.2, this is 1.2 is the cost, right? It's the cost per cubic feet. So that is the first thing you want to ask. So since your run, you saw how your run looked like. So the first thing you want to ask is, so you're going to add an input in the top. And you're going to say cost per cubic feet. And you're going to ask the question, what is the cost per cubic feet, question mark, space. Okay, so now when you look at your Moodle, you see it's the cost per cubic feet, that's 1.2, and then you have the width, the length, and the height, or the length, the width, and the height. So that in that order, you're going to be asking those questions. So here we have this. So now, with all this information, we want to create an assignment. And this assignment is named volume. Okay, and the volume is equal to, and this here are the inputs, the variables. So this variables, think of this variables as a temporary storage of the values that you're going to enter in. And I'll show you that in a moment. So your volume is length of pool times width of pool times height of pool. So you see how it sort of got a little bit out of configuring. You could just make it bigger and then everything will show in one line. So that's what we have. Volume is equal to length of pool times width of pool times height of pool. And you hit OK. Then here we're going to have another assignment. And here we're going to find out what the cost is. The cost is the cost, and that's this variable up here, cost per cubic feet, right? Cost per cubic feet times volume. So now you want to have an output. And in your output, again, you want that in the console. In your output, you're going to, first of all, listen to what Moodle is asking of you. So it says the output is in cents. Okay, so that's how the output has to be. So we need to get the output, whatever it is, to be displayed in cents, right? So we're going to say the cost is, it's not dollar sign, right? Because it's just going to be in cents. The cost in cents is, and then plus sign. So if anything that you put in this quotation marks is a string, so that's what's going to be outputted. And then if you put like cost here, this cost is the actual variable. It's this over here. It's this cost. Is this assignment, is the value that this assignment is going to have. And this might be a little confusing for you right now, but as we do this, you will understand exactly how everything works. So here I've done everything here, and I did this program, and I'm going to play it now. And he's going to ask me what is the cost per cubic feet. So this here, down here is Moodle, so I could see it says 1.2, enter. What is the length? 20, 30, 10, and the cost in cents is 7,200, and that's correct. So what do I do with this here, right? So you have to submit this, and if you looked at the PowerPoint presentation, you would actually see how you get that submitted. But I'll do this right now for us just so you guys could get an idea. And I'm creating a Word document right here. So what we do here is, so we want to get a copy of this. So what we do is we use what's called snip, the snipping tool from Windows, and it appears right there. So you say new, and you snip this like this, okay? And now this here you want to put into the Word document. So we're going to say Keyvan Shahrdar, right? CSC120, homework number 1, okay? And this is problem number 1. And you're going to paste that in here. So we have this input in here, right? We also want to show this here. So let's use the snip again. So snip, new, okay, new. And we are going to copy this right here. Okay, so this shows that, hey, we're actually doing the work. So let's put that up on top of the actual thing right here. So we copy that in there, and then this is problem number 1. So as you could see here, this is the work that we did in the visual logic, and here is run number 1. Now you have to show both runs. If you read this properly, you see you want to have 2 runs. So this is your first run. Now we have to do the second run. So to do the second run, you don't have to show this again, okay, this part again, because you already have it there. You just have to show the second part for this run. And the way you do that is, here's Visual Studio. So you're going to X out of this, right, of the actual answer. And here's the demo. So let's go ahead and run it again. All right, so there it is. And let's look at what the values are that we're going to use for the second run. So for the second run, we are going to use 2.5. You see that? 2.5, 25, 40, and 8. And it's 20,000 cents. So we're going to use the snipping tool again. Okay. And we're going to do this. We're going to copy it, and then we're going to go into our Word document, and we'll put this in the bottom right here. So there you have right here problem number 1. You see that? Problem number 1, you have the You have the visual logic and run number 1 and run number 2. So that's, first of all, that's one part of problem number 1, right? Because Moodle here states that you want to submit a visual logic flowchart and then you want to create a Python program. So how do we get Python, right? So your computers at school will have Python, but you need to be able to download Python into your desktop and your laptop. So how do you do that? So let's go into the internet, okay? And all you have to do is just go to python.org, okay? And here is Python. This is what you want to download. You download the latest Python, which is 3.9.6. So you click download, okay? And then you open, and this will install it into your Windows. So we want Python installed into Windows, and it's going through the process right now. So once you do this, you're done for. It'll be in there for the rest of the semester, so you don't have to do it every single time there's a homework assignment involving Python. So just make sure you get that installed, and then I'll show you how to operate this. So let this finish installing. This should be fairly quick. It's almost finished, so you can see the bar's almost done. And there we have it. So it's there. So now you could just type in Python, and you want to load this one, the IDLE Python. Okay, you don't want to load any of these other ones, so you want to make sure it says IDLE on it. And this is 3.7, so I have a previous version installed already. Let's see if we could see IDLE. So here is the IDLE 3.9. So we go ahead and click it, the IDLE, and then you see it here. Now, when you are here, it's great. This is actual Python. You're in it, but we want to create a shell file. So you want to go to File, New File, and this is where you write your code right here. Okay, so writing your code should be very similar to what you did in Visual Logic. Okay, but there's different nomenclature that you use for Python, of course. So, for example, so our first input that we want to do is cost per cubic feet, okay, and this equals input right? So actually this is going to be a float, and the input is going to be, right, what is the cost per cubic feet, question mark, space. So this here is your variable, cost per cubic feet. So let's continue. So then the next question is going to be length of pool equals, and this is going to be an integer. And we're going to say input. So what is the length of the pool, question mark, space, width of pool is equal to, it's an integer as well. So the difference between a float and an integer is a float has a decimal point. An integer is a whole number without any decimal points in it. What is the width of the pool? Question mark, space. So that's your width of pool. Then we have height of pool equals int, and then input. What is the height of the pool? Question mark, space. So now what you want to find out is what is the volume, right? So volume is equal to length of pool times the width of pool times the height of pool. That's your volume. And now we want to know what the cost is. So the cost is equal to cost per cubic feet times the volume. And we want to print this out. So how you print this out is you basically write print, okay, and we are going to print out, we're going to say the cost in cents is, and we are going to put a comma and put in cost right here. So we don't need a space mark because the comma will actually create the space mark right there. So now we want to run, or F5, and it's going to say, okay, well, we have to save it first. And we're going to save it. You could save it inside of the program of the Python directory. That's fine if you save it there. Or you could save it under documents. And you're going to call it, you're going to name it, right? So Keyvan, Shahrdar, Python, homework 1. And here is your program running right here. So what's your first run? Right? So let's bring this up right here. And the first run is 1.2 cents per cubic feet. The length is 20. The width is 30 and the height is 10. And there it gives you the cost in cents, which is 7,200 pennies. So what do we do again? We need to save this into our Word document. So we're going to use the snipping tool. We're going to say new, and this is your Python. So you're going to copy this and put it into your Word document right here. So right here, you're going to paste it, and so that way I could see it. So because when you submit this to me, I want to be able to see what the work that you did is. And that's why you have to copy and paste this thing. So don't write it directly into the Word document. I will not grade it, and I will ask you to turn it in properly. So, so we have that shown there, but now we want to show the actual output. We want to show this. So we want to go to the snipping tool. We're going to say new, and then we are going to do this right here. Okay, so we're going to copy this into the Word document right here. So you see how that's there. And we're going to paste it there. So this is the first run. So now we have to run it again, right? So run the module, and let's see. Um, let's see, what is it that we are supposed to show? We're going to show 2.5, 25, 40, and 8. And there's the output. Okay, so you could actually do both and copy them at the same time. So let me just do that, and then we'll just delete this right here. Okay, so let's say new, and you could just do this, right? And copy this, and then here's your Word document. Now let's delete this because I was already in there. And here are your two things. So this is your problem number one. So this is what you need to do. So that would be your problem number one right there. So let's show that there, problem number one, and this is the way that it's supposed to be shown. You're supposed to save this document, all right, and then you're going to attach this document into Moodle. So here's homework number one forum, by the way. So that's a good place to go so that you guys could exchange information with other users of how to get this done. So here's your homework number one. You're going to click on it, and then you're going to submit it. So please make sure that you do that. Okay. Remember, you have to do problem number 3 as well. So please remember to get that submitted. We will meet on Monday to see the class. And we could have a discussion on this during that time period. With that said, have a great day. My name is Keyvan Shahrdar. I'm an adjunct professor of computer science at LSU Shreveport, and I hope to see you in class. Thank you.